Race number 7 is the Centenary Sprint Cup Group 1, the first leg of the Hong Kong Speed Series. And Nash Rawiller was Ed Sadler's special guest on HK Direct this week. If you want to check that out, head to the website, go to Multimedia Showcase, and there you'll find HK Direct. Click on that and it will take you through, get Nash's thoughts on the big one, of course, the returning hero, his first start since that second Sunday in December. So that'll be available on the website. All right, we'll get into the runners and riders for the first Group 1 since HKIR, of course, headed by Mr. Stunning. Barrier 4 for him. Nash Rawiller, of course, retains the ride. DB Pin finished second to Mr. Stunning, a stable on that occasion. Lucky Bubbles finished 4th. Hugh Bowman back in town. Blizzard ran 3rd in the sprint. Not listening to me, ran 3rd in this race last year. Peniophobia was the winner. Brett Preble jumps on board for the first time. Lucky Year, Alexi Bedell from Barrier 2, and then Beat the Clock, beaten favourites on his last start behind 50-50. Makes the step up into Group 1 company for the first time here in Hong Kong. So a small field, but a very, very good one. Brett, we're at the touchscreen to have a look at the speed map. Peniophobia, well, he jumped to the front last year. They couldn't peg him back.
No, and you'd expect that he'll roll forward again and try and take it up. I guess the big question mark is you'd think Mr. Stunning will end up there and probably look for a little bit of cover. What does Olivia Deleuze do from barrier number 8? Does he potentially roll forward and try and get outside of Peniophobia? Because he can't just sit there, surely. He's got to go forward, I think, and sit outside of Peniophobia. So I see that as something that may eventuate. And Beat the Clock's the other one. What does Joe do from barrier number 7? I guess there's an option there too. We know he's got strings to his bow of whether he wants to roll forward and maybe try and get that spot outside of Peniophobia. He may break them up a little bit, Peniophobia, so there might be a spot there. They're the two, I think, that create the most interest with regards to where they'll be in the first few hundred and what the jockeys decide to do.
He was devastating, though, from back in the field, wasn't he? A couple of starts
he
back.
Was.
So it's interesting. How have they looked in the morning, Paul?
Yeah, I don't know if it would be good to slow, though. I think it'll probably be more on the good side, wouldn't it? Track work, anyway. Mr. Stunning's the first one that we'll have a look at here. He's going nicely here in the morning. He's sort of put all before him, isn't he? And he looks very hard to beat once again. He'll be odds on, and he's doing it well. DB Pin, the next one we'll have a look at. I said that hopefully he doesn't get the outside draw or an outside draw, and he did. So I mocked him there. But he's only 8 runners, though, so that's not so bad. His work's been nice. And here's Lucky Bubbles. He's stretching out well. He's trialled well recently. The interesting move, putting these blinkers on for the first time. If he over races with those blinkers, they might let him go. Hugh might let him go, and he might another one that could put a little bit more pace in the race.
All right, so there's a few interesting angles to work through there. Before we get into the key races themselves, let's hear from Karis Teaton. He'll be on board Blizzard.
Karis, in the Group 1 sprint on the weekend, you reunite with an old buddy of yours, Blizzard.
Yeah, it's good to get back on him. Nice of Ricky and the owner to be able to put me back on him, so pretty happy about it.
The last time you rode him under race conditions was September 2016, but you have ridden him in a trial recently. How did he feel?
Yeah, of course he's more mature now, and he's been a better horse. You could see he's been running against some really good horses. Of course he had a chance to travel too. So I tried him last week. The horse feels really good. Feel nice and fresh. So I think he's ready to go again.
Do you think he's the sort of horse that performs at his best when he's fresh?
I think so. He's done it before, and Ricky seems to think like this about him. He say when he's fresh, he's better. You know, he's been here a long time, and I think just him being fresh in those sprints, just get a little bit spock in his leg, so he can compete against those horses. So I'm pretty happy that it's been a long time between his last run, so we'll be good.
That last run was in the Hong Kong Sprint, 3rd behind Mr. Stunning and DB Pin. They're both horses you know quite well too. Are they the two you've got to beat?
Yeah, of course. Seems like DB Pin is more into the improving type. Definitely two horses to beat in a race. Of course, Lucky Bubble, you can't ignore him because he's been so unlucky. This time he gets a draw where he cannot get into too much trouble. So, of course, a competitive field, but he's run against them last time. And he's run good, so his trial was good, he's fresh, so he's ready to go.
There you go. Carey seems pretty confident about it. We just saw the replay then, of course, but let's have another look at that. The race on International Day. Mr. Stunning, just a little bit too good, holding his stablemate in DB Pin, and neck was the margin in the end. The other horses, well, here is DB Pin. He covered some ground, didn't he, on that occasion? Just had that momentum, though. You've got Blizzard, we just heard from Carys there. Lucky Bubbles down on the inside. Peniophobia, of course, trying to do it all from the front. Who have we missed? Someone else in there as well, not listening to me. Is that the field? There's a lot of them coming out of it. But all in all, Mr. Stunning had their measure. He did, and he deserves to be the favourite. I think we discussed this a lot after the race, Paul. If you switch the runs around for Mr. Stunning and DB Pin, who's the winner?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he was wide the whole way, wasn't he, DB Pin, and he could have easily. But the problem being with DB Pin is he's drawn that wide again, and Mr. Stunning, I think, will get first run on him once again. Yeah, Lucky Bubbles has the blinkers going on, so we're anticipating that he may be a little bit sharper. Blizzard, he's just, you know, he's a terrific horse, and I was really surprised to see how well he ran after coming back from Japan. But he just doesn't have that real dash, that real instantaneous acceleration that the good sprinters have got. He's a good, honest horse and he can reel off a good final sectional, but I think that slightly goes against him at the 1200. All right, OK. This is a recent trial from coming in. Mr. Stunning, again, just looked fantastic this morning. Nashua in the saddle. DB Pent, his old mate on his outside. This is Affluent Starch you were talking about before, spreading them with a big white face. But DB Pent in that race as well on sprint day, he ran faster closing sectionals than Mr. Stunning, covered all that ground, was only beaten a neck. That's right. So if you add all the sums up, then he should be able to defeat Mr. Stunning. But so far, Mr. Stunning is the winner of his last three, including the international sprint, and DB Pin's got that wide barrier. Mr. Stunning's got probably a perfect one. So it could be another carbon copy. But I have no doubt that DB Pin showed on International Day that he can measure up and potentially even turn over our #1 rated horse. Yeah, look, it's going to be a great race, there's no doubt, but I do like Mr. Stunning. I think he'll get first run on DB Pin. All right, there you go. Another one to have a look at, and this is the X Factor, isn't it, really, or the potential X Factor, in Beat the Clock. He's actually beaten on this occasion by 50-50, who goes round in the Stewards Cup, but when he's good, he's looked amazing. He has. Well, this is his biggest test to date. If he wins this race, then just get on 50-50 in the next. But look, I just think it might be just a step too far for him. He's got barrier 7. You know, I'd like to have seen him with barrier 1 or 2 or something, and he's going to give all these really good sprinters a little bit of a head start, I feel. So I'm not going to put him in the numbers. I wouldn't be surprised if he ran well, but I'm not going to put him in. He's come a long way in a short time. Yeah. Class 2, Group 3, now into Group 1 at set weight. So it's a huge task for him. But he reeled off a 21.59 when he won first up. When he sat back, as we pointed out, if they do decide to go back and he reels off that type of sectional, then he should put himself into the picture. But I want to learn more about him before I can suggest he can win a Group 1. All right, OK, so it sounds like you're a Mr. Stunning man, Paul. I am. Look, he's just done everything right and he's just going to get a perfect run, so I think he's going to be very tough to beat once again. Lucky Bubbles is the interesting runner. I just hope he doesn't over-race with those blinkers on. He has been unlucky Bubbles in a lot of his starts, but we'll give him a chance in this DB, but not much between these ones. And Blizzard again for 4th. So I'll take the test 1, 2, 3, 4, or a quartet. Same for home as the International. Yeah, I've gone very similar as well. I've gone 1 to beat 3 and 2. So Mr. Stunning from Lucky Bubbles with those blinkers on. DB Pen, I'll throw in Beat the Clock. I had Blizzard in next. So 1, 3, 2, 8. I'm happy to play the Q. 1 the banker with 2 and 3. All right. I'm going to go with DB Pin as well. As Brett said, if Loose can get out, get on the leader's shoulder, get first run, I think we've got a race on. So DB Pin for me in the sprint. Up next for us, first leg of the Triple Crown and the Stewards Cup. Beauty Generation, can he keep on going? Winner of the mile on International Day. Of course, Elaine Paragon won this race last year. Coming off a solid lead-up run as well. Time Warp, he won the Cup coming in here. Zach Pert in the saddle once more. Maybe some pace, extra pace in the field. Werther, well, Hugh Bowman reunited with his old friend on Sunday. 50-50. Can he continue his rise to the top? And Southern Legends, he beat the unbeatable in Nothing I Like More.